Hi. As sisters, Marcia and I have total history together, so here goes. Sorry. Childhood is where I'll start. As we were growing up, it's not hard to come up with things that I admired about her or that I was probably jealous about. First off, I think of her bravery, and it's sort of silly to say, but even though I was the older sister, how come I was always the one to climb in bed with her when there was a thunderstorm? Never vice versa. She was the brave one. Creative. Together, as kids, we took over a large portion of the basement, and we made this village that was just us. We would get old sewing pattern books from the store and cut out the people. They would have families and piles of clothes, and we would make schools and supplies for the schools and stores. Our downtown had stores that were fully stocked with whatever we thought of to make to put into them. I specifically remember, and she and I would joke about the tiny packs we would make of fruit stripe gum, each piece individually, glue the stripes, everything. It's like, aha! What I won't share is how old we were when we were still doing this. She was disciplined. She was so disciplined. I remember that after trick-or-treating, Lisa and Nathan, can you believe this? After trick-or-treating, which she continued to do well into her teen years, she would deposit all her candy in the freezer and say, I'm not eating any for a whole year. And she wouldn't. And she did this more than once. That's discipline. I remember her in junior high setting her alarm for 6:30 in the morning so that she had time to read her Bible before she went to school. She was a hard worker. As an adult, this trait came into sharp focus. With Marcia, there were no shortcuts. Do it right, and don't procrastinate. As a teacher, if I would ever come to visit her or help her or anything, she liked to be several years ahead as far as preparing art components and different things for her classroom and for her students. And when it came to Christmas, you guessed it, her presents were typically bought by July, and her Christmas cards were addressed by August. She was a prayer. It wasn't too long ago, just recently, and she asked, how was I doing? You know, she got tired of talking about herself, and so I just shared a situation I was going through, and I was struggling, a sort of interpersonal thing, and had many facets to it. And she promptly suggested to me, she says, rather than confront this person and just go all out with it and lay it all out there, just go 10%. I'd suggest you go 10% and then just pray about the rest. She was right on, and I'm just so glad I listened. We would often share what we were reading in the Bible and what it meant to us, and just making these passages become real and come to life for us. Her prayer life was for real, and some of it was documented, as she was a journal keeper. Another thing to be jealous of. An example of this was when she and Stephen were in Russia and all that they were going through for one of the adoptions, and they were faced with an agonizing decision. And she wrote, we just don't know what to do. And then in her journal it says, oh yeah, pray! Exclamation. Through the years, we acted as each other's sounding board and counselor. And as the older sister, when she came to me for advice, I have to admit, trying to sort of tinker with who she really was. I remember her asking for advice during her teen years as far as like relationships or something, and I would make suggestions like, why don't you just, sort of tone it down a bit or try to fit in a little more with your peers. She didn't buy it. I would encourage her to just tweak her style a bit so she wouldn't maybe stand out so much. Didn't happen. As adults, we never got to live close to each other, with her in California and me in Michigan. But it was priority to get together a lot. I grew to not only accept her exuberant and fun-loving ways as we were older, but it served as real therapy for me. I have no idea how many times we'd laugh ourselves crazy to the point of tears. And oh, those poor ER folks at Kaiser coming find us behind some curtain in the exam room to find out what all the craziness was about. And Most recently, they found us in their cold exam room. We just wrapped ourselves in as much exam table as we could pull off, and we found blue exam gloves for mittens, and we were wearing them. And she was just fearlessly silly and could make anything fun. But boring was not an option. A few months ago, we were in her kitchen, and she was working along, and she stopped, and I could see her just hold her side and wince in pain. And under her breath, just whispering, she goes, "Okay, that's boring." And she didn't want to focus on her pain. She didn't want to talk about her pain. She considered that boring, and boring was not an option. But music and singing were a big part of her life. And growing up, as we did at camp, all those summers, we just loved to revisit our camp songs, drive people crazy. And several years back, I made it a goal to compile a list of 100 songs that we shared, and we filled the list. And that wasn't even counting all the hymns that we loved. During her hour-long commute to school, shout out to everybody at Sanchez, it was our regular phone time. And when we'd call each other, instead of ever saying hello, we would just always start out singing, and we'd sing our same song called Good Morning, God. And this is a song that Nathan and Lisa also love. You guys want to come up here and sing it? You do? You want to? You guys want her to sing? Come on up. Come on, you can do it. I'll hold you up. One, two. Oh, my word, I can't do it. Uncle Kyle's going to hold you. I'll sing with you. I'll sing with you. Good
morning, God. This is your day. I am your child. Show me your way. Show me your way.
Where am I here? And of course with Marcia, when the song had motions, so much the better. Her life was others-focused, and so many of you out there just know this to be true. I knew that if I was down for any reason, I could 100% count on her coming. Coming right alongside me. And if I was celebrating, whether it was a garage sale bargain or victory with my kids or anything, she would cheer even louder than I would. Her love for me was constant and pure. This past October, we took a month to head to an integrative health facility in Mexico. It was a beautiful setting on the ocean and an intense treatment and learning facility. And you can be sure there was no treatment or health suggestion that Marcia would not grab a hold of. If it meant a stricter diet, taking mega supplements, more time in her hyperthermia tent, or whatever, she was up for it and with enthusiasm. Nobody could believe her there. And again, she was there for others. When she knew of one of her new patient friends would be going through something or had an appointment, she would make it a point to be there for them, offer her smile and conversation, and somehow turn the whole thing into fun. But selfishly, we took this as a time for us as sisters. We looked at it as another camp adventure and kept saying, how many sisters get a chance for a fun escape like this? And she just lit that place up, proving that humor truly is the best medicine. And her sense of humor carried through to the very end. The day before she died, she met a nurse who quickly bonded with her. And as the nurse retells it, she said they were scheming in the night that they were going to dye their hair pink and surprise Stephen the next day. Later, the nurse told us that even in her weakened state, she just laughed and carried on about that for at least 5 minutes.